Yo, what's the deal? I want to say we live right now. It say we live. So I'm gonna go with it. We live. West side, west side, west side. What's the deal? On everything. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. First and foremost, giving gratitude to my higher self. You know what I'm saying? On everything as I just open up the space. You know what I mean? Just coming through. You know, with first and foremost gratitude, but just giving the clarity to my peoples, you know what I'm saying, that fuck with the channel, fuck with the West Side, you know what I'm saying, and overall who been supporting me along my spiritual journey and my psychedelic journey, because I definitely am, going drop that on y'all, you know what I'm saying. It's definitely a lot of psychedelic vibes, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm here to kick the dough down, you know what I'm saying, like a real psychonaut. You feel what I'm saying? So real shit. Um, gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. You feel me? And okay, so now we recording, now we active. All right, now we active. Cause I guess it's recorded now. You know what I'm saying? I was talking before it was recording, but it's all good. That's all good. We gonna flow with it. So y'all know the West Side, y'all know the Chief, what's going on. And I just want to say thank you. You know what I'm saying? Thank you to everybody who been supporting me on my spiritual journey and my psychedelic journey when it comes to me growing, growing the sacred plants and connecting with the mushrooms and, bringing wisdom of experiences and such from, many different journeys and adventures. I want to say thank you to everybody who's been, a open heart and open ear to receive and hear me out. You know what I'm saying? For real, for real. And yeah, I mean, this live is inspired by me and where I'm at, regarding my whole growth and relationship with the mushrooms. I can honestly say, you know, um, the path of psychedelics, or a psychedelic path, is really one of an adventure. You feel me? You got to be one of an explorer or an adventure to be either called through the path of psychedelics, or find yourself in a path of psychedelics, specifically the mushrooms. You know what I'm saying? So that's just, I want to say that because I'm definitely an adventurer, an explorer, a traveler, a psychonaut. I'm all of that. You know what I mean? And I'm not big on the titles and things of that nature, but I do honor these emblems. You know what I'm saying? I do honor these emblems because they are rather held sacred and are more not even like titles and emblems, but these are, lifestyles, if I could say that. You know what I'm saying? These are things that represent lifestyles and ways of knowing, being, and purpose. So me having found myself in a lot of these spaces and places, right? As far as being a psychonaut, an adventurer, explorer, traveler, and someone who's been, maturing, growing, and being well versed in the space of psychedelics, I find it's only right for me to just, um, commemorate myself and let that be known that, shit. Um, like they say, many are called, few are chosen. The path of psychedelics, from my experience and let's say my ongoing experiences, my experiences to come, you know what I'm saying, my journeys to come. I can say where I'm at right now, it has taught me a lot, about the nature of the spirit, you know what I'm saying? The nature of one's spirit, the nature of one's soul, and that interconnectedness of everything being holistic and everything being like, whole. So I really thank the mushrooms for that, because the mushrooms have, opened me up, you know what I mean, to such aspiration, you know what I'm saying, and even admiration when it comes to the things that, one dream or can imagine or can create with the mind, you know what I mean? So that's a big thing about that when it comes to understanding, like, the universe, or understanding more your mind and how, and how things operate within, so without, as above, so below, right? And having learned this from a more direct, interconnected aspect, has given me a much broader perspective, or even, yeah, a much broader perspective and viewpoint on my experience and how I like to experience not just the mushrooms, but life itself. You feel me? It has definitely opened me up and given me that access to where you know how one operates and conducts free will. I find that to be a very, very, very key thing when it comes to the space of the mushrooms. Um, Activating energy, you know what I'm saying? Talking about free will and knowing the open spaces that are between, thoughts and imagination and things and all of that, past, present, and future. You know what I'm saying? It get real, in the psychedelic realm. You know what I'm saying? And that's just something that I find that it's only right to mention because the psychedelic path can be very like mm, I don't want to say it could be all over the place, but it could let's say based on the individual who you are, you know, it could have it could have its many different um scapes, you know what I'm saying? And when I say scapes, I'm not talking about escapism or escapism, but like a dreamscape based on your individuality and how you imagine things that will also, let's say, it'll show in that correspondence and how the mushroom is replaying back to you, a version of your own experience. You know what I mean? That could be happening future or past or present. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the main things that I really enjoy, and yeah, that's one of the main things I really enjoy about the psychedelic space and the psychedelic path is that having having entered the realm of the mushrooms and exploring mushrooms, you feel me? You definitely can get a grip on the past, present, and future all happening rather concurrently or at the same time. And so how you could bring things into being, how you can manifest things, or how you can even create things, rather immaterial, as far as unlock abilities or hidden qualities within the body and mind. Then let's say that space is very much open, is very much accessible, is very much is popping, is all the shit. You know what I'm saying? So having a activated and opened up, you know what I mean, many different spaces and places within my own sense of self to know myself, to grow myself, and even show myself approved when it comes to honoring and knowing thyself along these journeys, when it comes to discovering and learning and exploring the different parts of oneself in different versions or different realms or different realities to where, well, like I say, one can, bring wisdom back, you know what I'm saying? Or you could bring certain things of objective or intention back from these magical realms to these magical places. And that's one of the main things that I find on the psychedelic journey is that it could be overlooked, you know what I mean? A lot of times in the psychedelic journey, many people cannot get past what some people only think is healing and having to reprogram every cell in the body and all that shit like that. And don't get me wrong, that's very cool. That is cool because you could do that. These are things that are possible and accessible within the space of the mushrooms. But when it comes to your purpose, when it comes to you being an explorer, a traveler, and somebody that wants to see beyond the veil or wants to know truth and wants to operate that and understand from cause into effect or from zero to nine how things kind of combine and come together, then that calls for a deeper challenge and a deeper quest within yourself that has that I would say not to remove the mind, but you must go beyond your own mind, you know what I'm saying, to know your mind in your own logistics, we'll just say. So your what, when, where, why, how, who's, and all of the things that you do, as a being, as an individual, you know what I'm saying, operating and vibrating the way you do as a spiritual, being, as a spiritual sovereign, nigga, right? And so I say this to say the psychedelic path is so vast that yes, the psychedelic path is so vast that you should want to get to know yourself in a space like this because anything is possible, you know. And that's one thing that I really would like to say, especially in a space like this, that anything is possible when it comes to what you want to do, when it comes to, you know, your objective, your intentions, your, you know what I'm saying, your purpose, or your, you know what I'm saying, anything that you want to explore or discover, anything is possible. And that's one thing that the mushrooms will show you, and even remind you. That's one thing that I find just within this in the psychedelic journey, is that, you know, for me being a psychonaut and having explored with mushrooms so much, and that's all I've explored with, you know, is that it reminds, you know, the human that one is greater, should I say that, you know. So it reminds the conscious mind that that this is not the end all to be all, excuse me. So when I say this is not the end all to be all, in the space of the mushrooms, it definitely places you, I would say, in the seat of your soul, your consciousness. You know what I'm saying? And it reminds you that you are the author of your experience. It reminds you that you are the creator or co-creator, or you are, you know, a contributor to the divine experience of everything here on earth. You feel what I'm saying? So this is where the interconnectedness of the soul and the spirit essence, right? That beingness of the formlessness, you know what I mean? One gets to actually get to scope within that. You know what I'm saying? So within the scaping of things, you get to scope within that. And in that scope, you know what I mean, you get to cultivate and create as you see or as you please. You know what I'm saying? And this is where your imagination, your ideas, your knowledge, you know what I'm saying, your memory bank and all of that jazz that's stored within inside of you. This is how it starts to then map itself, manifest itself, and show itself within the different dimensions or planes of existence that you exist within. And this is where you are then being reminded, whether it be, you know, sonically through sound, symbolically through visual or imagery, or however, you know, um, however the signs might appear through one's subconscious to the conscious mind, right? It's up to one's awareness and oneself to be present or to know thyself, right? When it comes to being the observer, you know what I'm saying? And so understanding the manifestations and how things are being manifested and what's, you know what I'm saying, communicating unto oneself, to know the different things that are of you or of your nature and that are not of your nature. Because when it comes to exploring these realms, or when it comes to just exploring space, we'll just say that, you know what I mean, you got to know yourself to know that everything, you know, on the outside of you, you know what I'm saying, is not technically of you. You know what I mean? I say this to say that you don't want to consume, and yeah, you don't want to consume and take part in co-producing some shit that ain't yours. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to consume, be over consumed in a feeling or a thought or emotion or idea that is not technically yours, that you didn't necessarily want. And whereas you have unconsciously agreed to something that you just thought or felt, or just because it passed through, you thought it was you. You know what I mean? And so you got to really be keen of your awareness, I should say, to know how you run your mind and your body, to understand how you want to experience your mind and your body, or greater, you know what I mean, on how you experience your mind and your body on greater in greater heights, you know what I mean, greater heights of consciousness and greater qualities of consciousness, because this is not the only body. So when you understand that, you know, in a level of multi-dimensional aspect or multiverse aspect, this is not the only body, you know what I mean, but this body, you know, let's say, is carrying all of the other bodies, you know what I'm saying. So when it comes down to one awakening and activating and, you know, connecting, you know, this body, or let's say this mind, to the all mind, or to the all minds, right? This is where, you know, that universal consciousness, that unison, that uniform, that unity within one's own individual self, that shit got to be held up right. Because if not, you know what I mean, if you, let's say, if you split within the mind, or if you're quick to split and ditch yourself in certain signs of what may be like fear, or what may feel intense, or what may, you know what I'm saying, however you want to interpret it, if you allow yourself to get hesitant and move too fast, or not make a move at all, that could be your ass when it comes down to just saying, like, let's say you having the control and you having the ball, and then you dropping the ball and giving something or somebody else control, based on your thoughts and illusions. You feel me? And so to recognize yourself as the observer, as the authority, as the author, as the architect, as the archetype of all the shit that's just like that would then be going on, that would then be taking place within the mushroom space. That's for you to know, and it's for you to take take note of when it comes to something that I've been sharing with people. Is that, man, get to logging and journaling your journeys. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to these mushroom experiences or any ceremonies or rituals that you might partake in, get to journaling and logging these experiences, even in the process of, because sometimes it just might call for that. But I say that to say, when you are able to log your journeys and experiences, you are then able to keep up with, let's say, the mystery of the mythology that you might be going through or even taking yourself through when it comes to your reasons why as to you doing what you do. And also, it can give you a sort of map as to the different spaces and places of where you had experienced certain vibrations. You know what I'm saying? And so that will give you an incentive on how to connect and how to program more of your experience even away from mushrooms. When it comes down to you just doing whatever you do in your everyday life, you'll know how to program and enter different spaces and places with a certain purpose and intent, or even a certain vibration that then says, you know what, this is that. You know what I'm saying? And so that is that dominance of energy, you know what I mean, that one can uh grow to understand. You know what I'm saying? Because within the space of mushrooms, it will do that. It requires one to be, not a Rudy Poo. You know what I'm saying? So you must be dominant in your stance, and it doesn't mean be microaggressive, or it doesn't mean be a asshole, or it doesn't mean be a pushover either. It don't mean none of that, but it means to be rather pure in your sovereignty and knowing that you are capable and you're willing to be a part of this. You know what I mean? So it's like, when I say you're willing to be a part of this, that you're worthy and you're deserving of your own knowledge. You know what I'm saying? You're worthy, you're deserving of your own connection with the spirit realm, the ancestors, the spirit animals, the kingdom itself, the elemental kingdom, so forth and so on. When you step into these spaces and places where you are interfacing with deities, gods, and angels and different forces, right? You got to be of your own force or your own nature, should I say? You got to be of your native energy. You got to be of your native spirit, your native tongue, to then, let's say, be recognized as who you are and not be taken advantage of by your own mind. You know what I'm saying? And that's some real shit. And so this is where you can't be split. Like I said, you can't be half a brain, or you can't be handicapped in the mind to where you ain't trusting in yourself, to where you ain't able to love in yourself. You're not able to connect, or you don't, or you're afraid to connect, or you're afraid to love, or you're just afraid of yourself, and you don't know what could be unmasked, of yourself. But see, the real thing is that you know what's inside. You know what I mean? This is the real shit that people don't want to talk about. You know what's on your heart. You know the pressure of the thoughts and the feelings that you experience throughout your daily life, right? And so let's say if a mask could be pulled back to show you the cause and where these things are coming from, or even if these things are valid and real, most people don't even want to get into that, as far as they don't want to see that. They don't want to have that divine revelation. Most people are fighting that when it comes to the intensity of what they are, let's say, experiencing, only to then have to learn that you don't got to experience that. You could change that, and you could reverberate that. You could reframe that into something of how you see it, or how you want it to be, or how you know it to be, because of one's awareness and one's truth. And then, let's say, you identifying with that in a sense of freedom. You know what I'm saying? And so, in a space like this, you could do that. You know what I'm saying? And I find it goes over many people's heads, about the psychedelic path and what they doing it for, what they're called for. That's what I want to say. And because if you're not, a lot of people are not called to the mushroom, and I find that's a divine thing. You know what I mean? A lot of people are not called to the mushroom, and then some people that actually are getting called, they don't know. Oh, I can't even say they're not they're getting called. Some people that seek out the mushroom, don't need the mushroom, or they don't have the right energy. They're looking to abuse, domesticate it, take over, or do things that are just, let's say, it's just nigga, it ain't genuine. You know what I'm saying? So this is where certain people who are not able to respect life, should I say, respect nature, they usually get, they usually get kicked out by the mushroom. How I say, you know what I mean? So the mushroom can welcome you into, the different realms and spaces where knowledge and things of that nature on the surface are hidden and forbidden, but then it opens up to you or for you because you got it in you that says, you're worthy or you're able, right? And so essentially you find ways, to enter. You are then opened up into different entryways and access points and stuff like that. But based on your energy, or I would even say, yeah, based on your energy of the heart space, the mushrooms can read, I would say, yeah, they could read, your psychic energy and impulses. So if you're not able to deal with that, if you're not able to recognize that in your own consciousness, and to recognize that, oh, that ain't that let's say me thinking a certain way is not getting me to a certain point of understanding or awareness to where I could then know better. You know what I'm saying? So maybe I need to check myself in the way I think. Where does this thought come from? Why does this thought, think the way it does? You know what I'm saying? What gave birth to this thought or idea in the way that it appears and it exists? And when you really get to peel back the layers of that, what I mean, in so many ways, you are, accessing, and yeah, by doing that, you are accessing the different latent abilities, not only to just reprogram and heal, but to explore the different realms between past, present, future, and the different elements of the Akash, you know what I'm saying? So the different spaces, you know what I'm saying, within the subatomic realm, or the hyperdimensional realm, or the interdimensional realm, you know what I mean? And this is where you get to see or recognize yourself consciously doing what you're doing, interconnected, you know what I'm saying, with all things being present. And so how you open up the space for yourself will determine how the experience and the atmosphere will be unto you. And this is where you got to be able to your own uh receive your own wand, should I say. But I really want to say receive your own power, and your power of access or freedom, or your, which is your knowledge, which is your truth. But you have to know thyself into understanding, where you know what's yours, you know what's not. You know what I'm saying? And you'll know it because we're talking about from a level of psychic element of unknowing. And so we're talking about, learning rather from a direct access point of self, being, from the super consciousness to the unconsciousness to the subconsciousness to the conscious mind. You know what I'm saying? And so by connecting the mind in these different spaces elementally, you start to learn, or you will start to learn and adapt through these different states of being, should I say. And in these states of being is where you learn how, the vastness of the space is then operated of the mind. Am I saying that right? And so basically, how the mind operates the vastness of the space that one is in, because that's just what it is. So essentially, let's say, like, when you wake up, you know what I mean? When you wake up and you get to Earth, or you're on Earth, you're returning to Earth from sleep, and you come here, you already in your mind, if not are preparing yourself, you have already prepared yourself with thoughts and emotions and things that you want to feel or will feel throughout the day. And with free will, knowing that you have the power to change that. And even on an unconscious level, you have the power to change that, because you could be giving yourself the ultimate experience, like a grand experience, a beautiful experience, rather psychically, unconsciously, or let's say you could be manifesting a dream, right? Wake up, and on the surface, because your naked eyes, things might appear to you like you don't know, or you don't, or you're uncertain, or you're unsure, and now your perception, or be it based on your perception, you'll flip the script. You'll turn something good into something bad, and you can turn something bad into something good. And so this where I like to say, it's not about getting caught up in either or, you know, based on, like, let's say, the polarity of things, because whatever you got inside of you, you know what I'm saying, you can't get around that. I'm gonna just say it like that. Dealing with, something like mushrooms, you are gonna be guided to that before you get anywhere else, you feel me? So let's say, you can't get around the shadow work in a space like mushrooms. So this is why I mentioned that, because oftentimes people don't understand that, let's say, the great shit that they experience in like a super good trip could be something that they inner child, or something that is calling out to them, or calling for them to really, immerse themselves in, embody, or bring into the experience of like everyday or real life, right? You feel me? And ultimately, on the flip side, it could be something that people are afraid to actually see or pay attention to in their sense of self, to then have to rewire, reframe, reprogram, or ultimately just do away with it and be like, you know what, that ain't me, that ain't mine, or I don't agree, you know what I'm saying? Because ultimately your choices, consciously and unconsciously, have a big thing, when they come to they have a big thing to play when it comes to the way that you interact with your dream space, or you interact with the akashic realm, and the hyperspace, and these different, these different realms. The stuff you do in your life definitely has a part to play in different spaces and elements and ways of being that you might operate, or you might open up and activate based on consciousness. So when you know these things, or you're able to know these things, and then you can conduct and operate from different modalities, or from different spaces of authority, right, or higher spaces of authority, your quality of consciousness, should be uplifted. You should raise yourself up. You will raise yourself up. You will want to raise yourself up, because you're recognizing, you'll realize where you are, whether being called to explore, to study more, to learn more, or to become more, in essence of activating and being that which you have then learned, or have you can apply it in the sense of, let's say, a willpower, or something, and being a power that accesses you, or gives you access to, let's say, your higher self, you know what I'm saying, or a greater experience, you know what I'm saying. But it's all through you creating it and being a part of the awareness that it is and can be. And so mushrooms definitely give you, it gives you the keys to the car, push you in the driver's seat, nigga, and says, let's go. You know what I'm saying? So that's just what you got to know, because ultimately, what I can say is that, throughout the mushroom journey, is that you know, uh, throughout the mushroom journey, one is learning to be their own guide. One is learning to be their own shaman, their own healer, their own traveler and explorer, and let's say, navigate and connect back to the source of the life, you know what I'm saying, that niggas live. So not just here physically, but let's say spiritually, where, the codes and the different hymns and all the things of that nature, right? That is of your ancestry, of your lineage, can be remembered, not only remembered, right? But it could be remembered, it could be reframed or redone or remixed, you know what I'm saying? A whole new way of just remembering in the now of who you are in this state or in this life, right? To where now you can build a bridge between between yourself here in this world and the many other cells in the multiverse. And that's one of the big things, about the mushroom experience. You know what I'm saying? The mushroom definitely opens you up into the experience of the multiverse, and the quantum element of space, where all things exist, on higher dimensions and frequencies. And you can actually enter into these spaces physically, you know what I mean, with your consciousness, with your awareness. You can travel and you could do, a lot of great things. But essentially, like I said, you can't. you can't get around the shadow work. And so the path of a psychonaut, or the path of psychedelics, should I say it like that, has taught me a lot about me and to love myself because of the bravery and the courage that one actually holds. And I know that comes from love. So this where you get where, let's say, in certain experiences where it might appear intense, or it might appear like it's fear or whatever, you gotta ask yourself, do you love yourself, or are you afraid of yourself right now? You know what I'm saying? Are you willing to go through, or yeah, are you willing to go through whatever that might be uncomfortable right now? Or are you gonna tuck your tail? You know what I'm saying? And I'm not even saying that from a place of like, oh, you weak for not doing it, but rather, let's say, when wisdom is actually okay, when knowledge speaks, wisdom listens. Shout out Jimi Hendrix. But let's say when knowledge is looking to present itself and unveil and unmask itself, you know what I'm saying? Are you able to be wise and listen, or just adhere and receive whatever that is coming forth? And it's through you that you must be aware of this. You know what I'm saying? So oftentimes people will experience something or go through something and blow it off like it's something else, or like it's someone else, and it's not something of their memory or their consciousness, or something that they don't know about, but yet they experienced it, or it is connected to them in some way, or whether it be direct or indirect. However, you got to be able to identify, you know where you are spiritually. That's what I want to say. And when you can identify where you are spiritually, then you can have a better guide and direction of where you would like to go spiritually, consciously, physically, mentally, because at least you have a great starting point. But if you don't know where you are on the inside, then it don't matter what you're doing on the outside, because it's like, well, shit, you already handicapped, disconnected, and half a brain, as I would say. You know what I'm saying? And so with the path of psychedelics and exploring mushrooms, it will always place you back in a state of remembrance and reminding yourself that you are the author of your own reality and storyline. And so, how you create your world, how you create your reality is magic itself. But if you don't know who you are, then you definitely won't know your magic to be in control of your mind and manifest the reality or the things that you like to experience. And you won't even understand the values of what that is as far as power and access, because when you treat yourself, you know what I'm saying, you'll know how you want to be treated. You know your correspondence. So treat yourself how you want to be treated. And when you do that, you know what I'm saying, when you interact with yourself enough, you know what I mean, you'll know the people, places, and things that are worthy of your experience, that are worthy of your presence and embodiment, and you being wherever you are to be, right? Wherever you are called, just vice versa. You'll know the things that deserve your time. You'll know the things that are worthy of your time, and that are able to, what I mean, not take away, but as much as they're able to give, as much as it's a, let's say, it's a fair exchange between experience. You know what I'm saying? And so, and it won't be nothing in between that, in the sense of judgment, or it won't be no haste, or it won't be nothing of a waste. You know what I'm saying? To overconsume, or take away from one's experience and wisdom of that. And so, man, this psychedelic journey, I find from a young nigga mind like myself, is so beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Before I could ever say it's beautiful, it was very, very, very it was very, very shadowy. You know what I'm saying? It was very, very, very shadowy. But I enjoyed all of that. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that was a part of the whole shit. When it comes to tapping into the unseen, and what I mean, breaking barriers, or breaking through different, what I'm saying, places and spaces where one was told you can't go, or knowing things that people say you're not supposed to know. So I had great times when it comes to breaking through, the unknown, should I say? You know what I mean? And that came from unknowing what I thought I had known, to only know what I've always known in memory, should I say. So what you've always known as a soul, in the DNA, right? All that information, you never forget that. You know what I'm saying? But how you remember that, comes from you unknowing or unlearning, as some people say. You know what I'm saying? Unlearning what you thought you knew or what you've been told to know from thoughts, ideas, and people and places and things that you downloaded into your own person. You know what I'm saying? And this is some true shit. And so I could say from my own learning experience, you know what I'm saying, just dealing with mushrooms, from my own psychedelic experience as a young psychonaut, as a young cadet, you know, I could really say I love myself. I love how I've been growing, and I love how I've been able to open up, spaces to explore and share space. You know what I mean, for those that really is willing to, embrace such a journey and adventure, because it is great things that one can do. It is, man, what is so it's great things that the mushrooms can do when it comes to reprogramming the cells, when it comes to healing addiction, when it comes to connecting with the ancestral realm and the spirit realm, and essentially giving oneself the tools and access that they already have inside the latent or the hidden traits of your mind and body. You know what I mean? And when I say mind and body, I really want to say your mind body experience, because the mind body experience is literally that. So as in the mind, the body, this whole thing is a body. You feel me? So the mind and body is not separate, as it is connected via the spirit, the soul, energy. You know what I'm saying? So how one conducts the mind and the body, is an experience in itself. So when understanding psychedelic and the definition being the mind manifested, then you could really get into the ways of how you've been experiencing your own consciousness or your own frequency and vibration, just in the high and lows, because neither is good or bad, but you know where your truth reside at, and you know where the illusions is at. You know where you want to be, and then you know where you don't want to be. You know what I'm saying? And so when you get to understanding how your heart space and how your energy runs, you know what I'm saying? How you as your energy is running your mind and body through this whole experience. It's you. You know what I mean? And this is where, as I was saying earlier, you don't want to let certain things go over your head. You want to know yourself. You feel me? And this is where your purpose, in your experience, becomes shown to you or revealed to you in different ways, and things of which you might be drawn to, or the things that you are drawn to upon your psychedelic journey. And then another thing, just regarding this space of psychedelics and just mushrooms in general, is that honestly, there's certain journeys and certain things that people, or let's say the world, humanity, will not be able to tell you anything. You know what I'm saying? You will have to then, be able to summarize and conclude what the symbols, or what the beings, or what you're experiencing. You will have to be able to know what that means for you. Just, I want to say, you have to know what that means for you to know how to communicate it, define it, know where it's coming from, who it's coming from in origin, to be able to interpret it. You know what I'm saying? But not only that, live with it. You know what I mean? Live with it in the sense of, let's say, out of all the 8 billion people in the world, you were chosen to know such, or you were chosen to have such an experience. And I'm not saying that others won't come before you or after you, but let's say when you know the uniqueness, you know what I'm saying, of such a connection that can be sacred, like ancestral, or like deity wise, like archetypally, as in, you might be connected to a deity, or a certain deity might be connected to you through your bloodline and DNA. So that's why you might appear or look a certain way or do a certain thing, or and ultimately you start to understand more of your experiences and your abilities within your experience, that shapes and gives you the format that you operate and that you vibrate and you ultimately conduct. So this is, a space of accessing magic, should I say? But it's all about, I don't want to say it's all about that, but it's a space of accessing the magic and becoming the magic, but also a space of knowing your power. You know what I'm saying? Being powerful, but knowing your power in the same tone of being powerful. And this is where the respect of the mushrooms, the respect of the plant life, the respect of all life, you know what I mean, should be held and is held within this space of travel. Because whether it be light or dark, you know what I mean, there are many different things that are able to come through, you know what I'm saying, the earth, shall I say. You know what I'm saying? So there are many different things that are able to come through, you know, the plant life and the plant kingdom, and that are, and that, let's say, they have their own agenda. You feel me? And so you gotta have your own purpose and agenda to know what you going in for or what you are looking for, even in experience. And I'm not gonna say it like that is always like that. That you always gotta have an agenda. No, you learn more of what you want or what you would like or how you would like based on your own intent and purpose as you grow. So this is a space where transformation, you know, is required. Growth is required. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately, wisdom and knowledge is required. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to be aware. You got to know these things. You can't just be can't be faking it. You know what I mean? That's one thing I will say about it. You cannot fake your experience. You know what I'm saying? It's like sex. You can't fake it. You know what I mean? So you know, a lot of people like to debate between good trips and bad trips, and I find it's really no is there's no in between. You know what I'm saying? Because your bad trip or your worst trip might be where you are accessing and gaining the most profound experience of knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and all that jazz. You feel me? And some of your greatest trips might be less intense and full of just laughter and full of just, hunky dory shit. You know what I'm saying? And that could be even disturbing to some people. I can understand. I understand both sides because if you allow your perception to interfere with what you expect from an experience, then you'll be creating ignorance. You know what I'm saying? Because you are already, let's say, projecting from that which you don't know, and so whatever is coming from that unknown, you won't know if it's yours, if it was influenced by something else or whatever. You wouldn't have no identity or connection with it because you don't know how it got there. And this is where you got to be aware. You got to want to be aware. You got to want to be aiming to be aware and on point. Just because we talking about navigating, we're talking about navigating the psychedelic realm, the spiritual realm, hyper dimensions, inner dimensions, lower realms. You know what I'm saying? So this is where it nigga that requires you in your consciousness to be, let's say to be present. You know what I'm saying? To be upright. You know what I mean? To be thorough, or as I should say, to be big heart gang. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have courage. You gotta have heart. You know what I'm saying? Because this is not a space of where, if you see something that is massive or something that is bigger than you or whatever, and you get scared, then shit, you're interrupt the experience that the mushroom is trying to unveil and reveal to you based on your own human behavior. And this is where you got this is these are things that I could say one learns through going through the motions. You know what I'm saying? And when I say going through the motions, I mean going through experiences of overcoming and saying, okay, I might have had, no, we would say not a bad trip, but let's say I might not have made it that far in the last journey. Let me see how longer I can stay in, or how farther I can go when it comes to the experience, when it comes to the things that you are connecting with or able to connect to. How how much awareness are you able to digest in these different spaces? You feel me? Because that will determine your experience and how you are able to explore these realms. So even when we talk about meditation and the monks and shit like that, you know what I mean? They doing the same thing. You know what I mean? But whether it be uh, on or off the mushrooms, the purpose of exploration and getting to certain spaces and states requires an attentiveness You feel what I'm saying? And so that's what really I'm getting at, is that the attentiveness that one should aim for should not be aimless when it comes to, oneself and their journeys. You know what I'm saying? And that's just real, because from my observation, it's too much taboo being spoken on about the mushroom from people who ain't into the mushroom and who don't have no business in the mushroom. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I say that, is that okay, if you're not interested in doing mushrooms, traveling and connecting with yourself and exploring the deep spaces, of the multiverse, right? Then then leave it alone. You know what I'm saying? Don't judge it. Don't make it taboo, and don't get in nobody else's way of what they should or shouldn't do. You feel me? Because it's a lot of that go on, and and it's like, who is anybody on the, let's say, of human, you know what I'm saying, to say what anybody should or shouldn't do. Now, there's nothing wrong with a wise counsel, but oftentimes it's a lot of people who are speaking before the mushroom experience, and they had no experience. And so I find, that shit's whack, man. You know what I mean? But it's just, that shit's whack. That shit is fucking whack, because these people be lying. You know what I'm saying? And then you got some people who only like Terrence McKenna say, they only take a piss ass amount, and try to sell some fucking journey or adventure, like they really went somewhere, they really did something. And it's like, nah, man. Like, you ain't gotta tell me. I know what uh deep space and deep intense feelings look like, feel like, and I understand the atmosphere. So when somebody bullshitting, or somebody is not really with the shit, as I should say. And oftentimes I see a lot of people who know they ain't with the shit try to speak before, mushrooms, or just the whole science of mushrooms. And it's like, you can't do that, because this requires you to experience the mushrooms for yourself. This requires you to connect and learn and know yourself for yourself, not for the sake of something or somebody else. You feel me? And then shit. And I find, just even in the path of the mushroom, and its sacredness. It's a language that the mushroom has, very telepathic, might I say. But it's a language that, the psychonauts, you know what I'm saying? Those who really are into this space, and who have connected with the mushroom, and who have been able to connect themselves with the mushroom, you know what I'm saying? It's a certain language, you know what I mean? But it's not even so much that it's spoken, it's a vibration that we all sort of share, based on a way of knowing. And that even in itself is like, I would say the word realism. You know what I'm saying? The realism in between that comes from a place of knowing and experience, not from the simple fact of, oh, because you didn't have a it's not because or you had a bad trip, so we know each other, or because we both had a good trip, so it must have been this or it must have been that. No, the experience gives you a opening into the atmosphere, the space or place of being, of which you are already operating as, as an energy source. You feel me? And so this is where some people say, it's like, if you was already fucked up before mushrooms, and you go into the mushrooms, or you do mushrooms, and it's just showing you a bunch of fucked up shit, one way or another, you're a fucked up individual. And it takes self administration, and it takes self admission to notice. So you got to be able to acknowledge, the conscious and unconscious ways of being, where, you done did something, not thinking that you was being unlawful or unruly. You know what I'm saying? And you hurt the next person. You know what I'm saying? Or you did something dirty to the next person. Now you just got blemishes and dirt all in your aura, in your spirit and energy, and you're breathing it, you believe in it, you're perceiving it, you're dreaming it. You know what I'm saying? And you wonder why, in such experience of the mushroom that is so vast, that it can reflect back to you something so intense. Ooh, excuse me for that. But definitely. So when the mushrooms is showing you in ways that you thought you never see or ways that you thought you never be, I'm gonna say it to you like this, and this might be some real shit because everything happens in maybe like, and should I say like portions? You even eat in portions. You know what I mean? But we could even say whatever you do is not fully done. You know what I mean? So let's say whatever that might happen physically on a conscious level can be greater in the immaterial or the spiritual level when one knowing or activating or operating in a certain frequency, purpose, and matter, right? And then even on a reverse where a person could be unconscious of what they're doing and it could be ineffective. You know what I'm saying? And that's where it's just like shit. In spaces like this, you're not gonna not know. You know what I'm saying? You're being made aware for a reason for you to know. That's what I'm getting at. And you have to want that. This is not about a high. This is not about a pick me up. You know what I'm saying? This is not about none of that. This is literally about learning and exploring and learning how to explore. You know what I mean? Spiritually, consciously. You know what I mean? Let's say the multiverse. You feel me? And when you learn that, and when you are learning yourself in these spaces and places, you will know, you know what I'm saying, when you are called to sojourn and go in. You would know, you know what I'm saying, just based on like you would create your own rituals. You would create your own, time and space. You would organize a schedule. You would do all of these things because you have a knowing or you even are seeking such. So it's like when you have been able to make a connection with something as sacred as the mushroom, should I say? You should definitely give yourself a pat on the back, but also you should want to open yourself up more into that exploration. And really, that's where I've been at lately. You know what I mean? Is just really exploring this psychedelic path, growing mushrooms, and learning more about that. You know what I'm saying? Learning more just about the science of mushrooms and what they're able to provide, even medicinally or even in the healing aspect. And wanted even to get into the gourmet of mushrooms. You feel what I'm saying? Where I'm not just growing psychedelics, but I want to get into growing some oysters, some lion's mane, and and just I'm putting these out into the world and just sharing the health properties, of mushrooms and the fungi, just with, those that's really interested. But my main thing really though is that I'm a traveler, I'm a psychonaut, and like I said, I'm a young space cadet, you know what I'm saying? And it's what I do. And so I'm here to speak, you know what I'm saying, and let the mushrooms speak through me, you know what I'm saying? Because that does happen oftentimes, you know what I'm saying? The ancestors they come through and they speak through me. You know what I mean? They be coming through. You feel me? And that's I love those dialogues, should I say? Because in dialogue with the mushroom, you can learn a lot about yourself. You feel what I'm saying? And you can learn a lot about yourself. You feel me? And that's the thing that I can say I have been able to do, especially when it comes to me and my mind, you know what I'm saying? And knowing my energy, knowing my essence, right? Me having to adapt, that's the main thing. Oftentimes people fight that adaptability based on their energy. Some people got a massive energy, man. And that's some real shit. I'm saying this, nigga, for everybody, niggas, your energy is much more valuable than this physical, if you can understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that this physical ain't shit, no. But what I'm saying is that your spirit, your soul, your energy is massive. So in the immaterial essence of it, in the formlessness, right, in the boundlessness, nigga, you are much greater than what you limit yourself to be and thought of. You feel me? And that's some true shit because we all tend to do that based on even me having my own limiting thoughts and beliefs of what the fuck I could or can't do. And then I end up doing it anyway, only to prove myself what the fuck truly is mattering. And that is the truth. That is the being. That is the essence. That is the soul. That is the spirit. That is everything that is permitting this experience to be even true or real, as one would say. So when it comes down to knowing your energy and identifying that and getting to identify that, the mushrooms will point you to do that. And it ain't no fucking cheat codes, nigga. The cheat code is you. You feel what I'm saying? And you gotta know this about yourself, because once you are able to get through your own emotions and your own thoughts and your own gunk, your own filth, or even your own optimism and your own shit, then that's when you can get beyond, oneself, physical, mental, astral, right? And really get into the exploration of greater worlds or worlds beyond. And really have an experience, you know what I'm saying? Really have an adventure, where you're going beyond this earth, you know what I'm saying? Or you're going beyond this 3D even, you know what I'm saying? So give yourself that, I'll say this to say, give yourself that chance, give yourself that space opportunity to create, an adventure for yourself. But it don't come easy, you know? That's one thing I will say. It ain't hard. It ain't about it being hard. It's about recognizing and realizing where you are called. You know what I'm saying? And that could be some of the most challenging things to do, even when you are recognizing and knowing it. Because, like, like going back to what I said earlier, your perceptions can easily deter, what's manifesting based on expectations. So how you perceive something to be as an expectation or as a result, and you don't have a clue, you don't have an image or a thought or idea how it could be, that could be what's holding the nigga back, you know what I'm saying, from doing what you want to do or what you wouldn't do, but now you're doing it because now you're being manipulated, controlled by whatever, you know what I'm saying? So get it right. And that's one thing, that I want to say on that note. But also is that the mushrooms, they help you get it right. You know what I'm saying? They're here to help humans get right with the energy and with who they truly are as souls and spirits or star beings. You feel what I'm saying? So even in the remembrance, of their Akash, you know what I'm saying? Tapping into the soul memory and the spiritual essence, right? This is a this where it leaves you to you for you to know you. You know what I'm saying? And this is where you going in solo is meant to be. You know what I'm saying? As much as you got group settings and group chips and shit like that, amazing. Don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, like I said, some things are unveiled and revealed only for you. And then some things are literally meant for you, as in the Akashic realm or the Akashic record, there are certain guides as you have your own that can open up, the records or the books at your leisure. You know what I'm saying? So certain things only you will be able to know and unlock because it's yours. And that's something that, I find it so beautifully, you know, that's the beautiful part about the shit. You know what I'm saying? When I say it's beautiful, that's the beautiful part about it. Because all in all, it's a journey, it's an experience, and from the cause and effect and all of that, you know what I mean? You would know the steps and the order process that it took to get there and let's say be. You know what I'm saying? And so when you can say that you are stepping in that, you're embodying that, or you have a chance to embody that, you're giving yourself the opportunity to embody, create, and living within that, then now you want some shit. You know what I'm saying? Now we talking about the transcendental, the transformational, or the transformative, should I say? Yeah, the transcendental, the transformative energy that is, let's say, awakening you to you while here in this body mind experience. Feel me? And so the psychedelic journey and the psychedelic path, is really one for a true warrior, man. It's really one for people who look for themselves. You know what I'm saying? That's the main thing, because it's not about everybody else and trying to connect with the world and, we shall overcome and kumbaya, all that shit. That's cool, but it ain't that. You know what I'm saying? This shit is really about the individual. And when you know that you're being selected or elected even, you know what I mean, from such an unseen space or place or where you feel like a light is being shined on you, you got to know that you are that light. You got to know that you are that wisdom that's looking to show you and give you, you know what I'm saying, what you seek in knowledge or gnosis. So knowledge speaks and wisdom listens. So when it's time to be wise, you ain't got to say nothing. It's just either time to be or not be. You know what I'm saying? I think Shakespeare said that shit, but it don't matter. You know what I mean? So it don't matter. We ain't tripping off of Francis Bacon. We ain't worried about that. You know what I'm saying? But real shit, man. In the space of psychedelics, man, or in the realm of psychedelics, it truly requires, the individual to be 10 toes, to be themselves. And a lot of times in life, people find it hard, what I mean, to be themselves and just be true to that. So even when it comes down to the healing, the reprogramming, the rewiring, and all of that, people don't even do that or can't even do that because they don't want to acknowledge where the truth is showing them a part of them that maybe is unfavorable or maybe was not so acceptable or maybe so not wise, you know what I'm saying, or maybe not so knowing and aware to where, let's say in the present, people try to deny that and be like, oh no, that ain't me, or nah, I didn't do that, or nah, I didn't. And it's like, okay, cool, that's cool for delusion purposes, you know what I'm saying. But when you are aware and are being made of, unrighteousness, or when you're being made aware of the callousness and the ways of your, let's say, when you're being made aware of the gunk in your DNA, you know what I'm saying? It's not always a bad thing. It's never a bad thing, especially if you're aware. If you're being made aware, your intuition is giving you whether a omen or premonition or giving you a sign or a symbol that's letting you know that things can change and be better when you decide. You know what I'm saying? And so you don't gotta accept anything. You know what I mean? Free will is always, available. I don't know why people don't recognize that, but free will is always the thing. You know what I'm saying? So you don't gotta accept just anything or just anyone into your space or experience as is just because of anything. No, you have rights. You know what I'm saying? And this is where in your rites of passage, you get to remember yourself as the self that you choose or you desire or yourself to be actually, you know what I'm saying? And when you know that part of yourself that is actually free or beyond all of the rehearsal selves, we just gonna call it that because we love ourselves, you know what I'm saying? I know I love myself, but we gonna say it like that. When you know the primordial being self that is activating and is activated and keeps activating and generating and doing its thing, right? Ain't never touched the surface of this, then you gotta release the pressure off your mind to then want to learn more of that, to then want to integrate and embody more of that. Because now you gonna have a better learning experience by living better and being better because you know that better is upon you as it is within, so without. So how you achieve that, I mean, is at your leisure. You know what I'm saying? And that's some real shit. And I'm not saying achieving it as in like niggas going to the NBA. No. Some niggas achievements is literally nigga just trying not to do crime. Because maybe in the past life they probably was big meat or some shit. So it's like in this life, it's like, you know what? I am not gonna try to destroy tax dollars and people. I'm not here on earth for that. You know what I'm saying? So, you really gotta evaluate who you are and what you are doing before you even go into such a space like this. Because in a space like this, ain't no way around you. You know what I'm saying? Because you are the vehicle, you are the car, you are the car, the bar, you are all of that. And you gotta know that. And the mushrooms coming from a place of psychic element. you know what I mean, how you experience, how you connect, how you communicate, and how you explore that. You know what I'm saying? It's all you. You know what I mean, from your psychic self. So get it to know that and get it to learn that in the space of the mushrooms. You know what I mean? You that does require a level of releasing and letting go. Not in the sense of letting go of, you must let go of your own illusions. You know what I'm saying? You let go of your false personas because you would then recognize what's in the way of you growing your mind or growing a mind or creating a mind, and however you want to think or however you want to be and experience that, let's say, the embodiment of whatever idea that you have then imagined or dreamed of. You feel me? And so, you know, this path is not for the faint of heart. You know what I'm saying? It ain't for the fluffy bunnies. You know what I'm saying? It ain't for people who just want to stay on Earth. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm being so thorough with it, bro. This shit is not for people who just want to be stuck, bro. And I mean be stuck in a system or in a way of being that you know is not natural, but you putting up with it. You know what I'm saying? And so now you compromise your energy and you're consuming yourself in energy and in spaces and places that you know is not worthy of you, or you know is either taken from you than is rather giving or sharing with you. And so now you are chemically imbalanced and unconsciously fucked. You know what I'm saying? And that's from a place of consciousness. And so with such access and with such availability, you know, within the world right now, based on all the things going on, you know what I mean? It's definitely, you know, a great time to connect with the mushrooms, but let alone it's a great time to connect with the earth and connect with the spirit realm and ultimately the elemental kingdom and really find, you know, find yourself in the Garden of Eden. You know what I'm saying? Know thyself, and to thy own self be true. You feel me? And I've been saying that a lot because I live by that, and I stand on that. In that, in a space like this is all that is. And the moment that you try to forget or you try to reject is when you get caught up in the intensity of fighting yourself or fighting shadows and things that are not really there. And so you don't want to create nothing or welcome anything, you know what I'm saying, into your environment or your universe or your space just by emanating or showing a certain energy, emanating certain light or hues that ain't there or that you don't want to be there. So this is all coming from a place of knowing and knowing and projecting that knowing with purpose. You know what I'm saying? And so definitely, man, this shit is real. You know what I mean? Like when I say it's real, it's life. You know what I mean? You gotta you gotta be able to understand life or want to understand life in the essence and form of crafting, cultivating, drafting, and producing, generating an experience. You know what I'm saying? As I say, generator, operator, and destroyer. So you gotta want to, you know, understand those things from a level of YOU, your own universe. You know what I'm saying? You gotta really want to connect with you and want to connect with you in ways of that you have not seen, you have not done, you never knew. All of that, only to be remembered or be reminded of that. Wait, hold on, it's possible because I'm possible. You know what I'm saying? And so, in the sense of, you know, like I said, the mushrooms connect you back to that author in you. It connects you back to the authoritative energy that you operate in and that you always operate in. But it gives you that insight, that weight. I'm not just this body. You know what I'm saying? I'm much more than this. You know what I'm saying? I'm something greater, and let's say it gives you that knowing where how you integrate it, how you are able to interpret it and bring it back down to earth to share among others, you know, is at your own maturity and will. And that's even the explorative part because in a lot of these spaces, in this yeah, in a space like mushrooms, you'll learn a lot of shit that you thought you knew you did not know. And so, you know what I'm saying? When you can know it from a direct point, then it's like, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? Now I have a better choice than to just accept anything unconsciously or subconsciously, to know what I allow and what I permit in my universal experience. You know what I'm saying? My being. You feel me? The shit matters, because too many times, like I said, people speak before the mushrooms and people speak before themselves, like they know themselves and don't be knowing. And so in a space like mushrooms, it's always different. You always get a new experience. You know what I'm saying? So how you download information, or how you know what I'm saying, process information, will will grow in advance. It should grow in advance, especially if you are called to be in this space. You feel me? It actually, it does that. If I could say that, let's say you might have had your worst trip, the last adventure, and then the next time you go in, you having something rather more splendid, right? And so that'll let you know how you are operating and where you are operating in your body based on your growth and experience, but even in a sense of an intensely good. You know what I'm saying? So it could be intensely good and intensely lit, you know what I'm saying? And it could be intensely not so good, you know what I mean? But it's all at your choice, or all at your free will, and how you choose to experience and would like to experience, whatever is hidden under the surface. And that's some real shit. So um I definitely wanted to get on here and just say one love. You know what I'm saying? One love to all my psychonauts. One love to everybody out there that's, tapping in, you know what I mean, to their ancestry, to the spiritual self, you know what I mean, to everybody walking this spiritual path and doing their thing spiritually, and operating this path. It ain't easy, but this mainly for my psychonauts and those that's interested in the realm of psychedelics, because I find this right, or what's the word? Well, the right word I'm trying to find, I don't know where it is, but I find that it's only right that, the psychonauts and us who are really, you know what I'm saying, really in this mushroom space and community, to step forth right now. You know what I mean? Step forth and connect, build, come together, and and share wisdom, just based on, how we are all learning and how we are all growing, and even how we are all creating and doing what we do. You feel me? Because essentially we could all learn and benefit from each other, and we better together. So it ain't no hate, and it ain't no waste of time or mind that should be on anybody's, desk or plate, but it should be more more proactivity, more productivity, in the space of um, community, connecting and building, relationships. I mean, ceremonies, all the shit like that. Certain shit that I be wanting to see, and so y'all definitely be hearing from me. Just as I get everything organized and put together. I just wanted to come share my side, I just wanted to come share my side and my take, what's going on right now and how things have been going, just in where I'm at, because definitely I will be bringing the wisdom of the psychedelics, and I will be sharing much more of my psychedelic path and journey with the collective and with everybody that, that follow me on this page. And so I just want to say thank you, you know what I mean, to everybody who fuck with a nigga and who been patient and who been rocking with me and my page as I grow, as y'all grow, as we continue to grow. Let's keep shining. Let's keep growing, creating, and doing what we do best. You know what I'm saying? And that's being magnificent. You know what I'm saying? So as we are creators, you know what I mean? You gotta know that, you know what I mean, you ain't no Joe Schmo. You know what I'm saying? You gotta know who you are. Like I said, you a massive being. So you gotta know you are much greater than what it appears to be. And so that's where you gotta show up and want to show up and embody that greatness and that essence. And so this is where I'm gonna leave this message off with love, man. And just want to say shout out to everybody that fuck with the West Side. One love, one love, one love.